Hi, I'm Glen. This is Nate. We're from Speak Life. We like to see all things through the lens of Jesus. So, the Apple Vision Pro, is it miracle tech or is it a dystopian hellscape? Nate, your quick answer.
Dystopian hellscape.
Yeah.
I always go for dystopian hellscape.
You're the hellscape guy. I'm the miracle tech guy.
I'm a pessimist, a tech pessimist.
Okay.
And I believe that this is our inevitable descent into the subhuman. And, it's already started.
Which plague from Revelation is this?
I never bother playing that game.
Okay.
They're all, this is all just
all plagues all the time.
All plagues, no filler. Yeah, that's the way this one's going to go. But, you said at the beginning, Glenn, you said we like to see all things through the lens of Jesus.
Okay. Yep.
Well, now Apple are inviting us all to see things through the lens of the Vision Pro.
Of consumerism, of what is now the new lens. So do people know what the Vision Pro is? Can you help us understand?
I can't really.
Augmented reality, is it?
Apparently, and basically you've just got your phone strapped to your face now.
Okay. Why don't we see some vision of the Vision Pro? And people can get an idea.
Take a look.
Here's a guy with a ski mask, but it's not just a ski mask. It can go slightly opaque, it can go full opaque, and he's basically got all his apps from his phone there, and just with his fingers.
Gestures,
And it tracks your eye movement, which I think is key. We might get onto this. It tracks what you're looking at
There's your
all
eyeballs.
times. And so, I mean, watching a film on it, you can't be against watching a film on the Vision Pro, can you? That's okay. That's not a hellscape.
Depends what you're watching. But
if it's Toy Story 4, hellscape. But
yeah, so this is it's all part of bringing the screen closer and closer to our face is what's happening. So we've had the old movie theaters, and then we sat in a smaller room with a television, and then we've graduated to a laptop computer and a mobile phone, and now we're literally just going to put that on our face. But what's brilliant about it is that you're looking through your apps.
Yes.
So as the augmented reality works,
not virtual reality, augmented reality,
because you're seeing the room around you, but of course you've got this these little icons.
Yes.
And you've got your laptop screen is now floating around like you're a kind of Iron Man.
And one of the problems that people are saying about it is it's a bit heavy, it gets a bit hot, the battery life is rubbish, and you've got this cumbersome kind of battery pack off the back if you want it to last for longer than an hour or two.
Right.
And so this is just 1.0, right?
Yeah.
What is 2.0 going to be like? What is 3.0 going to be like?
And that's one of the things when Apple have done this in the past, when they've been the kind of market leaders in innovating with, well, arguably they haven't innovated, but they've just made popular some technology that has been around for a little while, and they present it in such a way that people have gone, oh, that's now a viable option. I might get myself one of those.
Yes.
And first time it comes out, no one can afford it. It's like, was it $3,000 for one of these?
Yeah.
And so, therefore, it's only going to be accessible to a certain number of people.
Yeah.
But after a couple of years, once the next version comes out, and the next version after that, the price point drops. You can jump on the ladder at,
I remember VHS and Betamax.
Yeah.
I remember people paying like $1,000 for basically what amounted to a clock if you got a Betamax, because that became the redundant technology.
Yeah.
But then by the end of its life cycle, you were picking them up for like 70 quid and that sort of stuff. So as the price point comes down, will you buy an Apple Vision Pro?
Of course I will. Well, there's absolutely no way. It's inevitable. We don't choose, like I say, no one chooses to watch a YouTube video. No one chooses to watch a TikTok.
Right.
You will eat what you're given, right?
Yeah.
We will consume what was put in front of us.
You will find yourself in the cupboard late at night, like snacking your face off.
Yeah, and everyone said when the iPad was released, what a ridiculous idea. Who needs this kind of halfway house between my mobile phone and my laptop? This is ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
How many iPads? I've got like 8 iPads now.
Yeah.
And do I need them?
Yep.
Yes, obviously I need them. They're essential,
I can't
right?
not have one.
They're completely vital to living in a modern world, because I've been told that's what I have to do, and
Yeah.
I will do what I'm told by our capitalist tech overlords.
Yes,
That's the game.
That's the game. And if you want to opt out, you are the weird one. You're the Luddite.
Yeah.
And in the same way, like a teenager who doesn't have a phone, like feels completely left out.
Completely.
We will feel the odd ones out if we don't have the ski
Yeah.
mask on. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and people looked daft. The early adopters always look daft.
Yeah.
And then it starts, as I say, the price point comes down. People start to think, oh, what's the utility of this thing? Oh, maybe I could see it working for me. And as hopefully we'll discuss in a bit more detail, maybe it's not a game changer.
No.
This isn't that different from what we've had before.
Had already been changed.
Yes, we've already lost.
Yeah.
It's inexorable, right? We're just.
Since when? When's the inflection point? When did we pass the point of no
what
return
are we going
into
to blame?
the Hellscape? Yeah.
Well, I reckon you can, if you go with what's his name, Neil Postman, and his 1986, maybe 82 book, "Amusing Ourselves to Death."
Yeah.
He basically traces it back to the invention of the telegraph.
Okay.
So he says that once news was able to pass almost instantaneously from from Washington D.C. to Baltimore, or from Baltimore, not even that far, from Washington D.C. to Detroit. He's talking about American kind of impact. And he says that now this information superhighway along the telegraph wire is presenting people with information immediately, which they can do nothing about.
Okay. It is what it is. Yeah, you receive it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's not going to change how you spend your day.
Okay.
But it is decontextualized information which you have now received and you have to sort of do something with, even though it's not practical for you to know this. So he was arguing, I mean, I don't know when the invention of the telegraph was.
18
something. Yeah.
70.
Yeah. But it's like it would go back that far.
Yeah.
Would you go earlier? Are you going to suggest, or are you going to say, no, this is back in 2007 with Steve Jobs and the iPhone?
Well, if you want me to go right back, I'm going to go back to the written word, like as a game changer.
Okay.
As something that has literally rewired our brains. And like psychologists will speak about literate societies, the difference between a literate society and non-literate societies.
Right.
You can see it on brain scans. And you can do tests with people, and people from non-literate societies. You can teach them to read, but if they haven't grown up in that kind of society, their brains are shaped differently, such that when you do that test, have you ever done a test and it'll have the letters red, but the letters are green? And you have to say...
the letters to spell the word red. The colour of the letters themselves is green.
Sorry,
okay.
The word red is there, but the letters are green. And you're told to say the colour of the letters. If you're from a literate society, you really struggle with that.
Okay.
And it takes you ages. You see red, and you can't not read.
You can't not read. Yeah. Once you've learned to read, you're basically cursed to read everything that's in a language that you can read. Okay.
And it has changed the human person. Right?
Okay.
So here is the advent of a certain technology that has absolutely gotten into the wiring of our brains, right? And changed. And then at the level of society, it meant that, for instance, the people of the book, the Jews, even though they were smashed by the Assyrians and then the Babylonians and the Greeks and the Persians, the Romans, because they were still a people of the word, the people of the book, you couldn't destroy that, right?
Okay.
And so that the survival of the messianic people, it was sort of bound up with the people of the book as well.
Okay.
And then you come through into the New Testament, and you get this idea that absolutely face to face is the ultimate when it comes to the human person.
Right.
And you got the Apostle Paul saying, "We see through a glass darkly," 1 Corinthians 13. But when Christ comes, we'll see face to face. Like everyone is got the opaque lenses on now. Everyone,
yeah.
And then we'll see face to face, and at some stage we'll put down the lens of this world, and we will see Jesus face to face. And it's a profoundly human vision for what the future is. But then you get, like in the New Testament, John writes at the end of both his shortest epistles, 2 John and 3 John, he says, I have much to write to you, but I do not want to use paper and ink. Instead, I hope to visit and talk with you face to face so that our joy may be complete. So even there in biblical times, you've got this suboptimal state of communication, which is the written word. And in one sense, it's suboptimal. In another sense, the only reason I'm a Christian today is because the Bible, right?
Right.
And the Bible was passed down from generation to generation. And John, writes, these things are written so that you may believe in John chapter 20, verse 31. And so technology is woven into the human person. It's woven into the story of God. It's woven into the way that the mission of God has operated. And yet, there is something suboptimal about the written word.
Okay.
And you want to put down the letter, and you want to have a conversation face to face. And so it just seems to be a problem that's baked into the human condition. And I don't think it originated in either 2008 or 18, whatever it was, with the telegram.
So is it BC or AD, the problem? So you're saying writing is obviously precedes the birth of Jesus in Bethlehem.
Yeah.
But by how much? So it's the Phoenicians, I believe, who are the guys with the alphabet,
the first
right?
Script.
And so we can blame them.
Yeah, blame them. And what's the difference between a pictogram and then going into letters and that you spell out? It's magical. It's magic. You spell these words. So like there's something about technology that has always been a part of the human story. And the Bible has a positive relationship, I think, with technology and saying this is for the good, and the people of God use the book, and the book is good for the people of God, and it's good for the mission of God. It's suboptimal. It's not the same thing as face-to-face, but it's a technology that God is happy to use and that humanity benefits from. But the real problem is it can dehumanize as well.
Right.
And if I'm just constantly reading John's letter and he's standing there, he would say, put down the papyrus or whatever. And let's
but what if you could read the letter whilst it's next to John's face?
That's right.
As you're seeing John and his letter, and your eyeball is actually reading. But
you're reading Peter because you prefer Peter's
letters. Okay.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, there's one sense in which you want to go, okay, this is a perennial issue. It's been a kind of it's something of a human universal that our relationship with technology produces great benefits, but also kind of obstacles or challenges. But the specifics of the Apple Vision Pro thing.
Yep.
Let's get into the bit of that. What is the... Yeah. I've said it's not a game changer. This is just putting the phone closer. We're saying it goes all the way back to the Phoenicians and the Sumerians and everything else.
Yeah.
So nothing's different. Everyone just carry on as normal. But what is different and what is kind of unnerving about this?
Because every technological shock produces real trauma.
Yeah.
Like, think of the invention of the printing press. It's great for the dissemination of Luther's tracts and pamphlets and that kind of thing. But you could also trace back the 30 Years' War and, all sorts of, like, Protestant Catholic kind of fighting and infighting, through this bit of technology. And, maybe the first thing off the printing press was the Bible, but pretty soon pornography. And so with every tech shock, there is always trauma in kind of adjusting to it. I think the trauma with this is, bringing your attention out of the realm of the face-to-face in a way that you just can't switch off, in a way that is just like, I know I probably look at my phone a lot too much, but I can at least put it in my pocket,
But I suppose because you can take the thing off, right? And we said, you mentioned the battery life is supposed to be 1.0, atrocious, right? It's when it's sort of, it wraps itself around. But there's something, I suppose, that is a distinction between here is media, content, whatever it might be, that I'm giving my attention to, instead of giving my attention to the real world around me, right? Using my eyes to kind of recognize actual distance. Whereas this is saying, no, let us Let us give you the lenses through which to view the entirety of the cosmos and the entire world around you. Let us mediate your relationship in an even more immediate way than we've done with the iPhone.
Yeah, yeah.
Because now this thing has become, it's augmented reality.
Yeah, it is how you see.
And I suppose that's probably what feels like the difference. So biotech is something that we've been, has been discussed for some time, like to what extent do human beings need to kind of not just have an augmented vision of reality, but be themselves augmented by technology in order to kind of better engage with the world around us.
The cyborg theocracy. Yes.
Well, that's a phrase.
Yeah, Mary Harrington's phrase, cyborg theocracy. And again, she would go back a lot earlier and say that things like the invention of the pill was sort of a cyborg theocracy, in which the technology was disabling a function of the human that had previously functioned. Lots of other technology can enhance functions of the human, so you can put lenses on that will help to correct for your short-sightedness. That is to increase bodily function. But from the 1960s onwards, we've become comfortable with switching off certain human features of the person and disabling ourselves using tech. So and that just brings again into sharp relief this question of like, what is the human? Like what people are trying to preserve something that's human, and they're really worried that this so-called leap forward might be a step into the abyss and taking us away from whatever it is that is the human. And this is why it's a profoundly Christian question, I think, what is happening with tech, because we need to have a concept of what is the human. And if we don't have a concept of what is the human, then why not? Why not just put the implant in and just download dopamine hits and upload your consciousness to the cloud, and it's bliss forever? What is it that we're trying to cling on to? And I think people, whether they know it or not, are wrestling between two very different, very like dear Christian motivations. One is to use technology to improve our lot, and another is to say that there is something inviolably dignified and worthwhile about the human being that cannot just be traded away and made into robotics. And we're having this very Christian conversation, whether we're using Christian language or not, I would say.
And I think we should come to the what is a human, and what is this kind of text saying about what it means to be human. We'll come to that in a moment, because Joe, we've got some comments we'd like to or questions in the chat. Please, just to say, we're glad you're here, and we are obviously appreciative of the irony that you're watching this on a screen, perhaps even very close to your eyeballs. So, everything we say has to be understood through that framing
paradigm
context. Joe?
Well, we've got one question from Mark Gilmore. Thank you, Mark. It says, should we try to pave the way for Christians who will eventually have to draw the line on tech? Do you think such a point will come?
Oh, it has come, and we must draw lots of lines on tech. Is that
the line?
The
line should have been drawn back in with the Sumerians. That's what we're saying. This is no. So should we now, considering the direction of travel and the fact that this is only going to get worse, should we prepare ourselves to be drawing lines in the future? That's his question?
Yeah, I think so.
If we're not drawing lines already, I think we are being swept up into a vision of life that is not Christian at all. So if we haven't even thought about going on a Twitter sabbatical, right? If we haven't even thought about having some kind of policy about what I do with my phone when I first get in, whether I have my phone in the bedroom, what my children do, like if we are not already drawing lines, then we've been overwhelmed by this already. That we have crossed the line into where we need to think about these things very, very carefully.
And it's yeah, to change the analogy, it's the boiling frog. So, we're sort of this thing has been dialed up gradually and slowly to the extent that I think this Vision Pro thing isn't a significant difference to what we've had before. And I think one thing that's particularly relevant to the fact that this is an Apple product that we're talking about, clearly other ones will be available, if not already in the near future, but is the way in which Apple, through their marketing and their branding, were able to completely dissolve the line between work and play.
Yes.
And to basically say, so when were the adverts? We should look this up. Can someone look up when the adverts were like, I'm a Mac and I'm a PC?
Yeah.
They're really interesting adverts because they basically, Apple were able to present themselves as saying, like, you don't want to be like these stuffy guys who think computers are just for work and, like filling in spreadsheets and stuff like that. That's a total waste of time. What you need is a product that works for you. Yeah. And it's a place to play your music and to look at your photographs and to maybe, of course, you've got to send the old email or two, but we're just groovy cats here. So let's all just chill out and let's basically blur everything into the same. Every Monday morning is now a Saturday evening. Every Saturday evening is now a Tuesday
everywhere,
afternoon.
all of the time. Yeah.
Time and space has been completely condensed and melted together so that you're always at work and you're always on holiday.
Yeah, and you're always exhausted. Like 2006.
2006.
I'm a Mac and I'm a PC. And like one of the things in the Vision Pro advertisement was about how you can have a home office and you can just, at the flick of a switch, you're at the Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
And it's just like how, it's a disturbing thing maybe to think about, can you bring the Grand Canyon to the office in that sort of sense? I'm much happier bringing the Grand Canyon to the office than what we currently have, which is people going to the Grand Canyon and getting out their phones and going, oh, look, TikTok. Or Gmail, right?
Yeah.
Because that would be like going to the Grand Canyon with your suitcase.
Yeah.
No one goes to the beach and gets out your suitcase and like, here's my portfolio, my Filofax, and but we do that. We precisely go to the beach and get our Filofax out and send a few emails from the beach. And so actually, in a sense, like a line that matters a lot more was crossed with the smartphone than is crossed with Vision Pro. And if we're not already drawing lines, it's far too late.
And the BlackBerry thing, was, did slightly precede the iPhone as being this place where, because, and it appeals to our sense of pride that we are so sharp and on it and important and valuable and we need to be contactable at all times, that of course whilst I'm at the Grand Canyon I can, I'm the kind of guy who of course I can't take a day off, but I am the kind of guy who's able to juggle both these really important work commitments and, whether I'm on a family holiday or something. Which on that video, can we just go to the clip on the ad for the Vision Pro? The guy, there he goes, puts it on. It's him. It's a bit later on when he's at the kitchen table, and then he's doing his work. He's got some text messages and stuff's coming in, and then this was the most chilling part of it. Okay, you're watching Napoleon. Whatever.
Chilling.
Okay. Hi, just, I'm obviously in a hotel room. It's the big, long, kind of hippie-looking dude. Here he is.
Okay.
Look.
Oh, yeah,
look.
He plays football. Yeah,
ball, right?
Yeah,
He's busy. I'm working.
Yeah.
I'm working.
I can do it all.
And I can actually play football with my son in the kitchen.
I can be a good dad.
I'm a great dad.
While still
I am a
binging
great parent. Hey, look at us having great family time together because I can see the ball. Yeah. I'm still engaged with you.
Until the kid puts a Vision Pro on and there are no balls. And that's the end of civilization.
Exactly. And the idea, so I was thinking about this so at what point does it become a kind of tech nanny that parents I'll admit it, it's happened way more than I'd like to confess, that we were in a restaurant. Okay, here's just, you can have a little iPad time in the restaurant, right? So there you are, and you're all having it. Now, of course, in the olden days, before Bluetooth headphones, the kid had to sit there and just stare at this silent screen, just kind of imagining what was happening. But now we can put the headphones on, right? So the kid is now with the screen, with the headphones, and sitting at the table and just kind of consuming like this, right? You're like,
it's a scene from WALL-E.
We're here. Yeah, exactly. It's on the Axiom, and, eventually we'll be given our super centennial cupcake in a cup, and and we can change our outfits because we'll just press a button. But it does feel as though that line has already been crossed. And the question now is just, when am I going to buy one? I mean, literally, it's, how cheap do they have to go?
Yeah. And, but I think with all these tech shocks, it takes a long time for us to mature into the use of this technology. And I think there are ways of using the internet that are for the good. It's taking us a long time to catch. And, we still haven't really learnt the lessons about the internet, and then social media hits. And we still haven't learned the lessons about social media, and then AI hits. And we still haven't learned the lessons of AI. And now Vision Pro hits. And it will take us a long time to kind of process this, and our virtue will take a long time to catch up with our technique. And technique is always outstripping virtue as humanity rolls on. But there have got to be ways in which technology can serve the human.
Yeah.
Because, yes, it is better to be face-to-face than to write a letter. But without those letters that John was writing, we don't have a New Testament, we don't have Christianity, we don't have, everything that's come from it. And so there's got to be ways in which the tech can serve the human, but you've also just got to be so wise. And if you're not already drawing lines, you're just letting the human totally be kind of washed out by that kind of diffuse attention to everything that means attention to nothing, really. And you're very good at talking about the attention economy and the ways in which what social media is doing and what Vision Pro is trying to do at an even greater level is to kind of harness your attention. Tell us about that. So,
friends, Romans, countrymen, sell me your ears. See what I did there?
Yeah.
Changed one of the verbs. So basically, your eyeballs, your eardrums are for sale.
Yeah.
There is money to be made from harvesting your attention or grabbing your attention and then keeping your attention for as long as possible. Because as soon as someone realizes that you're paying attention to something, well, now is an opportunity to really make use of you, which is to turn you into an economic token, right?
You are the product.
So now you can be sold, right? Yeah. And so basically the attention economy is, and again, it precedes the internet and all this sort of stuff because advertising has been around for just as long as there's been any kind of writing and that sort of stuff. So the way that social media is functioning is that when you're not paying for it, that you are the product. Therefore, the aim of the company is to get your attention, keep your attention, because as long as it's keeping your attention, it can make money from you. And this was really kind of, I thought, quite well done in the Social Dilemma documentary, which came out about 3 or 4 years ago. That was on Netflix. There's a lot of people who worked in tech for some time talking about basically the meetings they had where they were scheming for ways to get your attention more quickly and to hold it for a longer duration. And that was the thing, because the more time you're looking at this, the more money they can make out of you. Now, one concept within that, which I found absolutely fascinating, was a thing called infinity scrolling. So apparently human beings have something called, I am one of you.
The mask slips just for a second, then
the humans. We are the humans. I am one. We have portion bias, so we are predisposed to want to complete a portion of something.
Okay.
So They did a test with a bowl of sugar and different size spoons. Okay, this was back in the days when people used to have sugar in drinks and stuff, where you're not allowed to now.
Monsters.
So they would change the size of the spoon and see whether that had any impact on how many spoonfuls or how few spoonfuls people would take. What they found was that people felt the need to take 1 spoonful of sugar to help the medicine go down. So they double the size of the spoon. People take a single spoonful. They halve the size of the spoon. One spoonful. So the point was, there was a portion bias where people thought the right thing to do, and there's maybe all sorts of psychological reasons why, but we all want to take 1 of something. And to take 2 of something might feel excessive, but like 3, it's like we're quantifying this, right? So one of the things they recognized when building social media platforms was that when you scrolled down to the bottom of the page, you went, I've just done a Facebook now.
Yeah.
I can go and do something else. I've done a page of Facebook, and that is enough. So they thought, well, hold on. They keep doing other things, playing with their kids and, enjoying themselves. What we need to do is to keep them on this page for as long as possible. So that's where the idea that the page will just continually refresh and you will never get to the bottom of this web page. And the scrolling, now, the other thing, just to add this in, just to kind of finish it off, is that the difficulty when you're scrolling through something like Twitter, for example, or Facebook, and you can see like 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 posts in a row, and so you can see those, so you can see what's coming next, right? TikTok doesn't work like that. Instagram Reels don't work like that. YouTube Shorts don't work like that. They give you one complete screen, and you know that you scroll up, there's another one coming. But you've got no control whatsoever over what that thing is. And that's the thing that we found, and I'm sure loads of people watching this will have experienced. That's the point where you suddenly kind of shock, and you're like, how long have I been on this thing? Just scrolling through absolute nonsense.
And there's a point at which, if that's in your hand, at some stage your hand might get heavy. And you might think, I should put this down at some stage. And with the 1.0 Vision Pro, you definitely want to take it off because it might be getting too hot. The battery's going to run out. It's too heavy. But 2.0, 3.0, 4.0, when it's just glasses or when it's just contact lenses or it's just an implant behind the ear, it's you're bringing the screen nearer and nearer until it's not even you choosing to look at the thing. It is the way that you see everything else. And that is a game changer, and that becomes something where you can't draw the line anymore. You know. And so there was a Black Mirror episode very early on, in which people had these. It was the year 2040, I think. And they had contact lenses, which were cameras, but they could also were screens, and it remembered everything.
You could rewind stuff.
You could rewind stuff. And really, actually, that episode was really about memory and how it's probably a good thing that you can't remember everything. Because actually our minds try to retell the story of the past just so we can cope, because we can't actually cope with reality. It was really telling that story. But there's a dinner party in that episode in which one woman did not have the implant and everybody else did have the implant. And they sort of kind of turn on her. Because they feel judged by her. And I feel like...
What a depressing vision for human nature that is.
Black Mirror. Cheer up, Charlie Brooker.
Wow.
But, well, I'll tell you about another Black Mirror in a second. But I think, in a sense, Christians have the chance to be that woman at the dinner party.
Great.
Hated by everyone. But also, you can see a sort of a respect, you know, for someone who is not completely enslaved to the machine. And another episode of Black Mirror, which I found fascinating, is called Men Against Fire, in which, again, there's an implant that they give to soldiers. And now the soldiers, with their augmented reality, see the enemy. Now, the soldier doesn't realize this, but they see the enemy as a cockroach, as like these monstrous kind of subhuman scum individuals. And what the soldiers don't know, and what you as the viewer don't know as you're watching this, is that actually the enemy, they're human too. But the implant is changing the way you see everyone else. And that's going to help the soldier to do his business of exterminating cockroaches, because we have, much fewer qualms about exterminating cockroaches than we do about people. And so it's this story about this one soldier who kind of takes out the implant, and he then sees the human that had been his enemy the whole time. And interestingly, in the telling of the story, Charlie Brooker knows enough to know that it's actually the Catholics in this future who are the ones hiding the so-called cockroaches from the authorities. And they are harboring the subhuman ones who are actually human, because they don't wear the implants, and they see the human, and they give refuge to the human. And so, interestingly, the Catholics, the Christians, are cast as those who see the human and want to get rid of the technology. Yeah. And then the dystopian ending to this one with Charlie Brooker is that the soldier just can't handle what he has done to the subhuman scum. And so he puts the implant back in and so lives in the fantasy rather than live with the reality of what he's actually done. So it's all there. It's all there in Black Mirror, people. It's all there.
And if you buy one of these Vision Pro things, that's going to be you. Joe, have we got another question?
Yeah, Pete Thorne asked a question which I thought linked in quite well with the way you said, Glenn, when this isn't the first step, it will keep updating. Yeah. And he asked, are you saying these lines are more about sensible boundaries, screen time, social media, fasts, etc.? Or do we need to say, I will never wear an eye interface?
Yeah, there would definitely come a point where you would say, I would never wear an implant that makes other people look less than human, for instance. Can we at least agree on the Men Against Fire Charlie Brooker line that and I think we should be very wary of even so you could wear these things so that I only ever look at my spouse and I can change the way she looks to me, right? And this technology, it's not just in the future. It's kind of like we can do it now, really. I can actually create a deep fake of my wife and wear that, and I never have to see my actual wife. Christians, don't do that.
But there's a line. That's the thing about the Snapchat filters, though, isn't it? When people go on and they're like, "Oh, look, I'm a cow. If I stick my tongue out, the cow sticks his tongue out." Yeah. I think that was the line. That was when that was allowed. Yeah. Because at that point it was just fun, but then of course,
But yeah, embedding that sort of stuff into the everyday, because in a sense, like the Vision Pro looks like a lot of fun where we play, and you're always talking about there's the reality in Christ, and then we are sub-creators within Christ's creation, and we can play and we can make stuff up, and you can actually make up a story about elves and trolls and whoever, and you can play around in that world. And we're not saying you should never play around in that world. I think, but the danger comes when you mistake the play world for the real world, and when you actually diminish your vision for all of reality by actually just spending your time playing and getting all your enjoyment and stimulation from the realm of play rather than the realm of reality.
Yeah. And that thing about what is a human being for? Like what is, to go back to that question that I said we'd discuss, and then we go on to other topics. But so what's the purpose of a human being? What is a human being designed to do? Yeah. And of course, if you're in a very sort of tightly controlled attention economy, the purpose of a human being is to give their attention to things, to look and to listen to stuff that can make money. And to do that in such a way that it deadens your appreciation for, your interest in, your curiosity about the actual world. Because so long as you're doing that, you are safe, right? You're controlled. You're not going to, like that other Apple ad, run up and smash. What year was that one? I want someone to look that up. So there's an Apple ad it was very early on. I think it's like a late 80s one, maybe 89 or something like that. And there is a guy, there's lots of people who are all kind of conforming and doing the sort of the right thing. And then some guys kind of rushes from the back. It's such a famous advert, and I can't remember what year it was. And this guy's got this big sledgehammer, and he just smashes the machine.
Okay.
So he just like literally destroys the system because it's enslaved all these kind of people.
Okay.
And there's something about the number of particularly kids and families films actually, which have engaged with a kind of dystopian vision for tech. So Mitchell's versus the Machines did it. Ron's Gone Wrong is a really good one on that. Incredibles 2, the screen slaver is the baddie, and arguably it's parents who are on the front line of this, because not only you're responsible for your own media consumption, you're also responsible for someone else's. And you're thinking, oh, we didn't have this when I was growing up. And so, but it's been interesting to see that has been a feature of the kind of the discourse and the cultural conversation in the West in the past 10 years has been a real kind of, hey guys, is this screen time really a good idea?
Yeah.
And of course the irony that of course they're watching on a screen kind of thing. But
yeah.
But that sense that in all of those stories, you have someone who's like the guy in the Apple ad from the 80s who has to go and take down the system.
Yeah.
And as they manage to take down the system, everyone's sort of like the scales drop from everyone's eyes, or the things come out.
Yeah.
So you were saying the Black Mirror episode, and people look around, they're like, what did we do?
Right.
Like, what is this? It's part of WALL-E as well. You know, when WALL-E, because he comes in, undermines the kind of the system they've got on the Axiom spaceship. So those films have been teaching us this stuff for a long time.
Yeah.
And yet we are still inexorably descending into closer and closer screen interface.
But that's a profoundly Christian thing, I think, to actually to see when the machine actually grinds the human in the gears, and then let's walk away from the machine and like reunite with the human again. So Ready Player One, you know, he goes through all of that, and then final scene, he kisses the girl in real life, you know, and so it was a lot of fun to go through all those levels and blah blah blah, but. Whereas the Charlie Brooker thing is, in the end, he sees reality and then he chooses the unreality. And we know that's dystopian. We know that's the tragic vision. And there's something about us that I think it knows the truth, that these machines are to help the human rather than to replace the human. But we only know that if we know what the human is. And we keep circling around this question. And I think that idea of face-to-face is right at the heart of the human. When you think of Genesis chapter 1, and male and female are made in the image of God, in his likeness, and image and likeness are visual words, and it's because we are intended for face-to-face. Yeah, you know, we're intended for Christ the man to stand on the earth, to be together with his bride, and the final scene is a kiss, right? And the final scene is face-to-face. And whatever takes us away from face-to-face is what is dehumanizing. Whatever can enable face-to-face, and sometimes tech does enable face-to-face, and that's for the good. But when I think about augmented reality, I often think about how Jesus he's already augmented your reality for you. There is already an enchanted world out there. And with the lenses of the scriptures, Jesus is already telling you, hey, you know, when you could go and visit that guy in prison, you'll see me. You'll see me.
Right. Okay.
If you actually go and engage with that imprisoned person. And you know that person who needs clothing. Go and clothe them. Have your eyes, or pay attention to the least and the last and the lost. And you'll get to see something really cool. And as you serve that person, and then he does this beautiful thing at the end of the Transfiguration, and all the disciples are saying, you know, who is the greatest in the kingdom? And Jesus looks around, and he spots the least impressive person of the bunch, a little toddler, a kid, a small child. He puts the boy in the middle, and he says, whoever receives this child receives me, and whoever receives me receives the Father. So again, he's like, pay attention to what is there. And as you pay attention to the things that most people actually overlook, because you've been trained by the way of Jesus and the way of outpoured love, you'll have your attention trained on not the most stimulating, fun thing, the glorious, what the adults are bickering about. You'll have your eyes trained on the boy. And then Jesus is like, now do you see? You see me. And that's augmented reality. Better than anything that the Apple Vision Pro can give to you.
Yeah, I think that augmented reality, or the Jesus, or being a Christian, is about seeing the whole of life through a kind of Jesus perspective, through the spectacles of Scripture, as Calvin famously used that as the way that the Scriptures have been given to us, not just to be something to look at, but some vision of looking at everything within the world.
Yes.
But it's interesting too, going back to that sort of idea of the attention economy, trying to grab your attention, keep your attention. What is a human being? A human being is something that's supposed to be looking and listening. According to the capitalist media corporations, but also a human being is someone who is supposed to be watching and listening, because that is the means of our salvation. So John chapter 1, John the Baptist says of Jesus, "Behold the Lamb of God who takes away the sins of the world." So Jesus in John chapter 3 says, like, I will be like the bronze snake that Moses lifted up in the desert, and they looked and they lived. And then he says, there's John 3:16. John 19, as Jesus is with Pilate, and Pilate says, "Behold the man," right? And then not just behold this man who's battered and bruised and covered in other people's spit, but behold your king. So like, if you are someone who's feeling like overwhelmed by and like spent by the world, and you're very conscious of your sin and shame, and you just feel like an empty vessel, well, behold this man. He is the man for you, and this is the means of your salvation. And if I may, a C.S. Lewis quote from a little book called The Magician's Nephew. And it's a wonderful one because it involves the birth or the creation of Narnia, as Aslan with Polly and Diggory, and Uncle Andrew's there, and I think Jadis is there as well, and the cabbie and his wife, and Strawberry the horse, and they're all standing and they're watching and listening as Aslan kind of walks through and sings creation, sings Narnia into being. And Uncle Andrew, who's awful, he says, "What's all this nonsense? Well, he's going to attack us. He's getting very upset about it. In fact, he probably sounded a bit more like sort of Douglas Murray or something. Maybe I was doing a bit too high pitched. Of course, or Boris Johnson or something. But the point is that the cabbie then says to him, he says basically, "Shut up."
Yep. In a Dick Van Dyke voice, I would imagine.
He actually says, "Stow it, governor.
Governor.
Do stow it."
And no mistake.
And then he says, "Watching and listening's the thing at present." And that's actually one of the things that's most essential to what it means to be human, is you're supposed to be paying attention to the spectacle of the gospel. That's the thing you've been made to do, is to witness the wonder and beauty of Jesus as he, is creating the world, as like that's a pointer to Aslan in The Magician's Nephew, but then also is the way he's going to redeem the world, and the way that we're going to be saved is you are going to behold the man. You are going to behold your king.
And we can't complain that we're in a disenchanted age if we're constantly just distracting ourselves by watching and listening to the bleepy kind of intense kind of dopamine hits. Like, no wonder people feel that this age is in the same way that we can't see the stars at night anymore because of light pollution. Like, in the same way, this is a kind of a light pollution, isn't it? We've got the lights are always on, and we can't really see the heavens. So I would not draw the line at a Vision Pro, but if you cannot put it down, then absolutely I would draw a line at that. And I would say we already need to be drawing very thick lines between work and play and worship. And making sure we have prioritize that face-to-face thing. And we don't need to be afraid of technology. I think technology can serve the human, but as long as it's serving the human, then it's something that can be embraced and even used. And here we are on a YouTube Live, kind of using such technology.
Yeah.
But, are there any final questions? Should we have a go at one more?
We've got SB McCollum, what a name, said the 1984 ad, Nate.
The 1984
ad. Woman with a sledgehammer.
Oh, because of 1984.
Ah.
But was it?
That's what the comment says.
And yet what we have is not a 1984 dystopia. We've got a Brave New World dystopia, don't we?
Absolutely.
In which we are given it's drugs and computer games, as Yuval Noah Harari has said. You know? Anyway, what's another question?
We've got two questions. One is from Mark Gilmore. Have you seen Paul Kingsnorth's work on articulating what he calls the machine?
The machine. Everybody should go and read The Cross and the Machine. It's an amazing article that Paul Kingsnorth wrote, probably in 2021, 22, something like that. But yeah, absolutely. And he doesn't just identify this with 2008 or with the 19th century, or he says right back in the garden was this: we are not going to hear the word from God. We are going to, through technique, kind of manipulate the world. And there's a strange part of us that prefers the machine. And then what does Christ do? He comes and naked is ground in the gears of the machine to be on full display face to face with us, saying, do you want the human or not? And everyone should go and read Paul Kingsnorth, The Cross and the Machine.
And finally from Harry Weller, will there be Vision Pros in heaven?
What? Will there be Vision Pros in heaven? There will be scrolls, so there is going to be technology.
Be thou my Vision Pro.
I
think that's enough.
And we're done. That'll do for all of us. It's a Friday afternoon. If you want to see life according to Jesus, we would love you to do our course called 321. You can go to 321course.com, and it's really about putting on those spectacles and seeing who Jesus is, and then through Jesus, seeing what God is like, what the world is like, and what we are like. And you can do that absolutely free. Just give in your email, make up a password. We're not going to spam you. There's no in-app purchases. It's entirely free. Go and binge it in 2 hours, or you can do it over 8 different sessions. But we'd love to give you an augmented vision of reality, or reality as it really is, a very much enchanted place.
Yeah, it's even better than Pokemon Go.
Yeah, that's what we reckon.
So there we are.
That ought to do us. Thank you so much for joining us, Nate.
Thank you so much for joining us, Glenn. We're glad you were here. Cheerio.
Bye-bye.